Here's one of the two that y'all came to see. I'm putting him last. He's a senator from Jones County. He's running for lieutenant governor. Let's give it up. Senator Chris McDaniel.
I really appreciate that. I don't know where to begin. I did at some point want to address some of the claims from a few minutes ago. But before I get there, let me just say this. For 16 years,
Speak loud, Chris.
for 16 years, I've done the very best that I could do as a flawed man, as a man who needs God on his life, probably more than anybody in here. I've done the very best. Mistakes were made, obviously, from time to time. I know I hurt some friends, but I never did it with ill intention, not for a moment. I just was fighting for the things that I believe in. In those 16 years, they called me everything in the book, but they never called me a Democrat. For 16 years, they called me everything in the book, but not once did they call me a rhino. Because my record is clear, and I want you to check the record. The ACU considers me the most conservative member of the Senate. Americans for Prosperity, they do as well. I'm proud of what I've done. More than 300 pieces of legislation, either authored or co-authored. But perhaps even more important than that, I'm proud of the endorsements I've received throughout the years. Rush Limbaugh. Yeah! Sean Hannity. Ooh. I'll ever get him. How about Sarah Palin? Does she work? Yeah. All right. Donald Trump. Yeah. And my favorite for this cycle, my very favorite, Ted Nugent. Yeah. Uncle Ted, if you haven't met that guy, he is so charismatic. He's actually brilliant. You should actually get a chance to listen to him sometimes. Now look, Senator Sparks was up here a few minutes ago, and he said quite a few things, as he often does. And I consider Senator Sparks a friend. I want you all to know, no matter what happens, there's not going to be any grudges here. I don't have a grudge in my heart toward anyone. I'm going to do my very best to move forward. But there's a lot of half-truths floating around. Let me give you a couple just to address what he said, then I'll transition finally into my speech. There was some question about me being absent during a special session. That's true. That's one side of the story. That's the spin. Here's the other side of the story. My mother-in-law is dying of Parkinson's. We only had a couple of days' notice. I could not rearrange it to get there. You see, that matters. Yes. That matters. He seemed to criticize my talk of Trump. I want to be really clear. I'm really proud of President Trump. I like President Trump. Now, as for that comment, go back and look at it. Do you realize this was in a post-14 environment, and there were a handful of Trump supporters that had come onto my page, not from Mississippi, but from California, other places, and they said I was a member of the establishment. Now I'm a lot of things, but I've never been a member of any establishment, right? And I said, if you believe that, you're delusional. I stand by it. I wasn't talking about all of them, but again, it's that idea of spinning and mistruths. They give you just a kernel of truth, and they think you'll bite. They want you to bite. The truth is much more complex. As for this idea of zero bills, I've had a lot of great bills over the years. But you also know that I've been punished over the years, right? Yeah. Come on, let's not kid ourselves. They put me in timeout some time ago. And Delbert Hoseman continued that timeout. Now, some of you say it's well-deserved, and that's fine, but it's not my fault if the bills are dying if they've placed me in timeout. Now, Delbert Hoseman takes credit for all these things he's done, but to this day, I've never seen the man cast a single vote. Have you? No. Now, the House votes, the Senate votes, and I voted for most of those things he brags about, but not a single time did I see him cast a vote. But let's give him credit where credit's due. If he's that powerful, then he also has to take credit for all the things he killed behind the scenes, right? And he's killed an awful lot behind the scenes, and I'll get to that just in a second. Now, here's the thing. I find myself incredibly concerned about the state of this country. And if you haven't been paying attention, you should. Because over the last 20 years, it's changed so dramatically, culturally, the role of government in society, is changed so dramatically that we barely recognize it. If my father were here today, he would tell you he would be appalled at the state of this country. My concern is this: if we don't find a place to stop the slide, where does it end? If this next 20 years is the same as the past 20 years, where does it end? I think you know the answer to that. Republics rise and republics fall. There is a possibility that we could be troubled and shaken to our very foundations. This is our time to push back.
That's right.
Yep. This is our time to stand. Now, I was having these conversations with my son the other day. We were sitting around the table talking. And he's intuitive for an 11-year-old, but he also senses there's something just structurally unsound about the present state of this country. And he asked me a profound question. He says, Daddy, are we the last ones? Think about it. The last ones to know freedom. The last ones to recognize the greatness of this country. The last ones to embrace patriotism. The last ones to really know what it means to sacrifice. Are we the last Americans? I want to tell you, folks, we're losing everywhere in this country. They're pushing back. They're fighting us at every doorway. And if you don't think the fight is in Mississippi, you haven't been paying attention.
Yeah.
The wolf is at the door. The wolf is at the door. They're not going to wait until we make them go away. They're not going to wait until we tell them, you're not welcome here any longer. This isn't simply about a race for LG. It's not simply about Delbert Hosemann. I don't dislike Delbert Hosemann. I do, however, dislike the way he's enabled our opposition.
Yeah.
If you're fighting for what's left of this country, and you know the Democrats are a fundamental threat to everything we believe in, why would you ever promote those people?
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Sparks, Senator Sparks talked a minute ago about 13 of 16. He gave you some more numbers. Let's fill in the picture again. Let's give you the whole picture. When I first arrived in the state Senate, the Democrats had the majority in the chamber. Did you know that? They had the full majority in the chamber. We were the minority in the chamber, so of course they had to serve then. But Republicans, we worked our tails off. We fought, we knocked doors, we spent money, we gave speeches, and we grew in numbers. Now, as opposed to then, we hold a super majority. 36 to 16. 36 to 16. There's no justification in not passing everything we've ever dreamt of.
Yeah.
If you hold a super majority for the first time in history, that's why you don't appoint Democrats.
Yeah.
That's why you don't. You hold majority. You control the chamber. You know where they belong? In the corner while real adults govern. That's where they belong. Now look, it's complicated only because of the spin. But it doesn't have to be spin. It's all right there in black and white. Redistricting. The idea behind having a supermajority legislature is to protect Republican incumbents. But not just protect Republican incumbents, to enlarge their strength, to make them stronger. That's not what he did. He eliminated one of the most conservative members of the chamber, but protected every Democrat in the building. Benny Thompson. Benny Thompson is a national disgrace.
Yeah.
And yet, Delbert did everything in his power to move that district around, give him strong female representation, and guarantee his perpetual re-election for the rest of his life. But another way, he's unassailable. He cannot be beaten by a Republican because Delbert Hosemann gave him the perfect sweet spot in numbers. Just like what's happening here in Madison. It's funny how Delbert works, isn't it? We know that he was attempting some judicial redistricting here. He got caught. He backtracked. I want to promise you something, Mayor, Jill. I appreciate the job you've done. I know how hard you work. And if I win this race, or when I win this race, we're going to protect Madison County at all costs. Do you understand? At all costs. Income tax. It is a fundamental Republican principle that the income tax is punitive.
Yep.
It punishes success. Tennessee, they don't have one. Texas, they don't have one. Florida, they don't have one. They're growing. They're prosperous. Mississippi has got to eliminate the income tax. Governor Reeves was here earlier. He wants the income tax eliminated. So do I. The House, they want it eliminated. So do I. The Senate, most of us want it eliminated. Delbert Hosemann has blocked our progress at every turn. Now, we have the money. It's historical. You don't think Tate Reeves can add? He's an accountant, isn't he? Right? And he says it's doable. Let's trust him. Let's get it done. Let's eliminate the income tax and make Mississippi great for business. Governor Hoseman has supported Medicaid expansion at every turn, but once again he got called. Reverse course, it says he doesn't. Just Google it. It's right there in black and white. I am not going to support Obamacare's Medicaid expansion under any circumstances. Governor Hoseman fought against a religious liberty bill that would have provided religious exemptions for vaccinations. He stopped single-handedly the ballot initiative process in its tracks. He fought for a pay raise for himself in this environment. He fought for a pay raise for the legislature. I was able to defeat that with a procedural motion. Speaking of something I did, that was something I did. He increased welfare benefits twice. He killed term limits legislation. He killed a recall mechanism, piece of legislation we had. But perhaps more alarmingly, and everything that we've done or should be doing right now is to push back against the most corrupt and inept president in the history of this country.
That's right.
Joe Biden is dangerous. His family is dangerous. Yet Mississippi sits relatively silent in the war over this country, in the war over this culture. I'm proud of Florida fighting. I'm proud of Texas fighting. We shouldn't just join them. We should lead that fight against them. So we shouldn't be surprised. This is who he's always been. I happen to like Kirk Fordyce. Is that a bad thing? Y'all remember Kirk Fordyce? The first Republican governor since Reconstruction. I'm a Republican. I was proud to support Kirk Fordyce. I walked doors for Kirk Fordyce. I raised Kirk Fordyce $15. I got an invitation to the ball. Okay, I was proud of that. Same time period, Governor Hoseman, showing us who he was even back then, he endorsed Ray Mavis. He gave Ray Mavis money. Save us from Mavis, give me a break. Ray Mavis, super liberal, right? Who said that? But that's who he's always been. Again, when I endorsed Trump in 16, Delbert would not. When I endorsed Trump in 20, Delbert would not. In fact, Daniel told you part of the story, and it is accurate. The Trump Commission was looking for some documentation to protect voter election integrity in this state. And they asked Secretary of State Hoseman at that time, will you help us? His response should be famous to you by now because he told the president to go jump in the Gulf of Mexico. They don't want to talk about that, but that's pretty relevant. What he should be saying is go tell Biden to go jump in the Gulf of Mexico.
That's right.
To that point, don't get me fired up now. To that point, I've never heard him say a negative thing about a Democrat again. I want to challenge you. All these years he served, Google it. Find one negative thing he said against the Democrat platform or against the Democratic Party. There's a reason for that. Birds of a feather flock together. And that's got to end if Mississippi is going to be prosperous. Again, folks, fighting for the very survival of this country. I know it's scary. And I know you don't want to believe that we're right on the edge of collapsing here. Turn on the news. Open your eyes. For the love of God, for the love of my children, for the love of everything you hold dear in this earth, we are losing this country. And we're losing it not simply because the Democrats are bad enough. They're dangerous enough. We're losing it because of the rhinos in our midst.
Amen.
I do want to address one thing, and I know it's going to cause a sore subject, but it just has to be opened up. The abortion clinic. Senator Smith indicated that he was pro-life. I'm not going to judge his heart today. I don't know. I'm not going to judge it. Here are the facts. They're conclusive and they're indisputable. In 1973, Roe versus Wade came down. 3 years later, I'm sure just a coincidence, a clinic opens in Jackson. It wasn't a coincidence. The timing was perfect for them to begin abortions at some point. The land had changed. Delbert Hoseman, a lawyer, presumably one of the smartest lawyers in the room, I've always been told, listed himself as vice president. I'm a lawyer. I've incorporated a lot of businesses. I have never listed myself as a vice president. Do you know why? Because lawyers aren't principal officers. Lawyers do the law. We don't list ourselves as vice presidents. But he did. And he remained there on the documentation for everyone to see from 1976 all the way up until 1990. It's black and white. Believe what you want. It's there for everyone to see. Now, here's the kicker. The only person that's ever defended him is the abortion doctor himself. Now, I don't know where you're from, but my opinion is this. The least credible witness in the world is a man who kills babies for a living. So that abortion doctor stands up and says, no, nothing to see here. That's not true. Well, you can believe him if you wish. I question his veracity. But it gets better because he got caught in a lie. What did he say? He said Delbert wasn't here past 1981. And then all of a sudden, another document materialized. And it shows he was clearly there until 1989. Still listed as a vice president.
Yep.
That's a strong, compelling case. I'm not going to second guess his heart here today, but I will promise you this. I have never represented an abortion clinic.
Never. Yeah, that's right.
What I did do pro bono a few years ago, I did defend pro-life Mississippi, and we won that lawsuit.
Yeah.
All right, look, it's time to go. I don't know ultimately if this is going to be hello again or just goodbye for now. I do know unequivocally that I believe wholeheartedly in this state. I believe wholeheartedly in the Republican platform. I believe if we apply it, we can save this country. It's more than just words on a document. It is the beating cornerstone of our salvation. Freedom, liberty, independence, self-reliance. The Republican platform gives us everything we need to uphold the values of this country and to save it again. But it's not simply a social club. Republicans have got to learn to fight again.
Yes.
We have to stand every day and fight every day like it's our last day. Because if we don't, that last day is approaching. How much more are you willing to give those people? How much more can you bend over and compromise? We stand here today to push back and let them know you may try that stuff in some places, but not in Mississippi. I am proud to stand here and let you know that I have fought for you for 16 years. If this is a hello again or a goodbye for now, I will continue to fight as long as there's breath in my body, because this country is worthy of our defense. Our children are worthy of our dedication. And Mississippi is the perfect place to push back, because we're still those same old strong, hard-scrabble, stubborn religious people we've always been. Hold the line, Mississippi. Hold it here like there's no other place to hold it. And when we reestablish it here, we'll push back and we'll save this country together. God bless you all.
My mayor's first time here. I'm going to allow this indulgence. I'm going to let her ask a question of Senator McDaniel. So fire away, girl.
Thank you. Thank all of you for being here. And I had a question that I truly wanted to ask Lieutenant Governor Hoseman and you both. I wanted to ask both of you. I think I have a reputation of being a little bit controversial. But as I grow older, I am more mellow. But the fight in me is always there for the city of Madison. I work for the people of the city of Madison. And it troubles me deeply when I hear discussion about splitting District 20 of our judicial district. If we were to split Madison off from Rankin County, then we would look at having to pair with Lexington, Yazoo, or both. I have been told, and I have had conversations with the Lieutenant Governor, and I have had some wonderful phone calls from our senators. But you know, accidents happen sometimes, especially when you're involved in meetings in the legislature. and things slide through. And I wanted to ask our Lieutenant Governor, and I'd like to ask you, Senator McDaniel, I would like to ask you, since our Lieutenant Governor is not here, for the record, I want to know how you are going to ensure all of us that this is not going to happen to Madison and Rankin counties, that this will not be split.
Thank you, Mayor. That goes back to an earlier concept I believe we should have been conducting all along. He should debate me. And if he debates me, we can have these conversations without all the mudslinging and the attack ads. He should be standing right here today and debating me. And I'll issue the debate challenge one more time just for the record. Anywhere, anytime. He can come to a Facebook Live with me. I'll come to his office. But the people of this state need to hear from more than direct.
The Lieutenant Governor's position is supposed to be the most powerful elected position in the state of Mississippi.
Yes.
How will you protect Madison District 20?
I will use every bit of that power, Mary, every bit of that power to guarantee you that we're not going to change this judicial district under any circumstances. We'll appoint chairman that will protect you. We'll appoint committee members that will protect you. You have my personal word. Madison will be protected. There's a reason for that. It's one of the most special regions of our state. The city and the county have done a remarkable job. It has to be protected at all costs. It's a jewel here, and you've been a big part of that. You've got my support. You always will.
Wow.
Thank you. All right, we got time for some giveaways here. Kenny Lewis, I know you want to win something, don't you, Judge? All right. Where's my list? All right, we did the best we can do.